A real-life rail disaster 130 years ago in France is the setting of the new novel by best-selling author and screenwriter Emma Donoghue, and we're so excited to have Emma back on Morning Live with more on the Paris Express ahead of an event tonight at Hamilton's Playhouse Cinema. So thanks so much for joining us. I just found out that you found out about this story idea quite by accident while looking for a vacation spot.
We were going to Paris for the year and I found us an apartment in the area of Montparnasse, knew nothing about it, and I googled Montparnasse history and that amazing photograph of the dangling train popped up at me. And even though it's a famous dorm room poster apparently, I've never lived in a dorm room, so I'd never come across it. And I was so seized by its combination of really impressive high-tech modernity for 1895 and comical fail, you know, that I thought I have to write a book about that. Okay. So yeah, the novel tries to follow the journey of the train as closely as possible. It lasts just from 8:30 in the morning on the Normandy coast through to 4 o'clock in Paris, and it stays on the train with all the people on the train, and it's as true as I could make it, but it's also fiction. Right.
Because you've got real and imagined people on the train. Reading this, I found it was like reading your huge bestseller, The Room, because it's all set in one location.
And also trains in the 19th century, they had no corridors, no dining room, no bathrooms. You know, you were really just in that carriage with your fellow passengers. And whether that was a luxurious, you know, velvet padded first class carriage or a horribly cramped and drafty third class carriage, you're still stuck with strangers for as long as the train is moving. And then when the train stops at stations, everyone gets to like leap out to try and find a toilet or buy a sandwich or something.
Yeah, because there were no bathrooms.
Exactly. So it gave a real rhythm of kind of containment and then brief release as the train thunders on. And of course, these people, even though they're experiencing travel very differently, they're all facing the same potential death, you know. So I absolutely loved setting a novel on a train, and I think it's just a natural way to give your story forward momentum.
Yes. Oh, well, I like that. Staying on track.
The metaphors are inescapable.
And there's so many circumstances that happen on this train. I don't want to give anything away, but there is this huge kind of like, there's radicalization on, and because people are so angry against the government. And I'm like, oh, we could have this train going anywhere right now.
Indeed, and you even have one passenger who's a member of parliament and super rich, and he basically asked for the train to make a special stop near his country house so his private carriage could be attached. And this slowed the train down by 10 minutes. And this seems to have been the one thing that was different about that day, 22nd of October, 1895, which led to disaster, because basically he derailed them by asking for a special favor. And again, we see that nowadays with, you know, billionaires with a sense of entitlement putting a spanner in the works.
Yes, yes. And just anarchy on the train as well.
Absolutely. I was astonished to find that when the crash happened, several locals in Paris told journalists that they assumed it was an anarchist bomb, that there was already like mass terrorism in the 1890s, but it was coming from the far left. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting, because, you know, if there's a bomber on the train, we're going to be, you know, upset and horrified, but we'll also be sympathetic to some of the kind of social protest behind that, you know, because it was a time of great oppression of the poor. So it made it a really interesting political situation to write about.
Right, especially because the government and industry were working so closely together to just drive everything forward to richness.
Exactly, and you know, the trains were tying this modern world together, and it's still a world we really live in. You know, we're driving, you know, they had internal combustion engine cars and electric cars, they had trains, it was our kind of speedy, caffeinated world. So I even put in a character who's a human coffee pot. I spotted him in a painting in a Paris museum. He's wearing this gigantic tank of hot coffee strapped to his back, and he's serving his customers from little taps on his chest. And I thought, you know, that's so us. That's so like, oh, I must grab a latte before I jump on the train.
Yes,
you know?
From the latte guy.
Exactly, the human cost of our convenience, you know.
Yes, yes. So you have, there's been huge buzz about this book. I know that you've got sold out events at the Burlington Public Library today, and one for the Niagara on the Lake Public Library tomorrow at a winery. But tonight, And I'm so glad I get to continue the conversation with you this evening. Emma is going to be at the Playhouse Cinema tonight at 7 o'clock, talking more about the Paris Express. It is a grit-lit event ahead of the Readers and Writers Festival in Hamilton a little bit later this month, and we do know that a few tickets are still available. So it's great. I know that you've participated in Grit-lit in years past, so it's...
Love it.
Yes.
And doesn't it have the best name as festivals go? And it sounds so Hamilton.
Yes, it does. It does. So we will continue our conversation tonight, and we'll put the links up on our website at chch.com/morninglive.